Just playing a tournament here on Club WPT. I had no outs there, but I was deciding whether or not I was going to stick around and try to outplay my opponents on the river. But they might have the king. It's just early in the tournament, so the pots are usually pretty small. Kind of want to change my moniker to Emperor King. So usually it's not very explosive in the tournament at the beginning. I'm just hoping to hit the 9 here. But since that's unlikely to come, I'm gonna try to win it another way. But Mr. Big Stack, big move, made the big move. I want to play for more. Anti-cheat man 1. I like it when apps can allow you to change your name all the time, poker-wise. There was this one real money app. It was fantastic. You could change your name, so you could leave the table, change your name, and sit back at the same table sometimes. It was fantastic. I was ranked professional 4 times on that site. Yeah, first time when I was ranked professional, it's like, yeah, I made it. I'm a pro. And then I got demoted, and it was like, no, that sucks. But then I'm glad that they had it like leagues, because then it means you don't get complacent, right? Because I would have made it professional ranking, and that was kind of a goal in my life, and so I would have been satisfied with that, rather than being hungry still, right? So when you, I love having leagues for like competition, like to bring out the competitiveness and I think if I had a business, I think I would have leagues, like in nothing would be guaranteed. It would be a performance driven, like, so it'd be guaranteed as long as you're still performing, but be like a contract, and because I came out with like over 160 businesses, 170 businesses, so it's not like I'd run all of them, right? I'd only run the ones I was passionate about, and hire other people to run the ones that I was less passionate about. But it'd be contracts. Like just so there's no complacency, because I hate complacency. That's why, like, at first it sucked on that app. They demoted me, but I loved it after a while. Even after like 5 minutes after being demoted, it was like, yeah, I love it. I love that they made it so you can't be complacent. Because if not, I would have rested on my laurels. I wouldn't have tried to get better. But unfortunately, I can't capitalize on my skills, like, because I was hoping to. I tried posting it online, and they wouldn't let me post it online even. But I'm like, okay, well, I'll make a bet with the viewers, and because ideally I was going to be like, okay, well, I bet you that I could put an opponent on a hand, and then they could take that bet, yes or no, and then how long it would take me, how many attempts it would take me, and become like my own sports book. And but that's what I have to do. It costs $100,000, but for me to capitalize on my skill, which kind of sucks. But that being said, like, if I was to sit there and watch somebody play poker, I could coach them and tell them what to do, like what they should be thinking, how they should be kind of thinking, and as a coach, almost like a caddy for a golfer. I want to play at the casino now that I've refined my skill of being able to put people on hands. Just so eventually I'm going to be in a pot when somebody has a hand. I'm going to know what it is. I'm going to be like, your flush is no good, all in. And then hopefully they call with the flush scenario, and then I bust them. Then I get all this respect from the table. Then they're all going to be nervous of me. Just got to pause it for a smoke. Yeah, my grandmother was way ahead of the curve. She was talking about secondhand smoke, and even before it was even a term, like, she was concerned about smoke in the room, how it was bad for people, and then there's third-hand smoke. Third-hand smoke is when it's on your clothing. You notice third-hand smoke, particularly around babies. Like the smoke around babies irritate them. You might notice when they're breathing. But it's you smoking in your clothes. So do yourself a favor, smoke outside, and because when you smoke inside, you're actually so you're when we breathe oxygen. When we breathe in, we're breathing in oxygen, right? But we only use something like 14% of the oxygen in the air that we breathe. And that's why we could give somebody mouth-to-mouth, even though we breathe out carbon dioxide, we could give them mouth-to-mouth, because we're still breathing oxygen that's left over out of our body as well, right? Because if not, we wouldn't be able to give them mouth-to-mouth, right? Because we're breathing out the wrong chemical. But so that being said, when you smoke inside a house, when you're breathing, like, without ventilation, you're going to be re-inhaling that cigarette. You might smoke it 7 times before you filtered out all the air with your lungs. right inside your house, right? Your lungs basically is like a filter for all the smoke, right? Whereas if you go outside, you have your smoke, you're done with your smoke. You go inside, you got your fresher air anyways than it would be with smoke. That's one thing about me and my ex-wife. We both smoked, and as soon as, well, I think she quit during her pregnancy, and but then we smoked outside. After that, it was we just smoked outside. No matter, like, if we live in Canada, right? So wintertime smoking outside sucks. Nobody wants to smoke outside. And it's -30, but you don't want to get sick, or you to get sick. Yeah, I learned in phys ed class we inhale some like 14% oxygen when we breathe, and we don't inhale the rest of it. I took phys ed in summer school. It was pretty fun. We got to go kayaking or canoeing, pardon me. And played volleyball, but I was 18 at the time, like 17, I guess, almost 18, and everybody else was an adult, like in their 30s or 40s. So when we played volleyball, I was told that I'm not allowed to try after I spiked the ball a couple times. You know, because it was 18, 17, 18, right? So at this point, I was just a physical specimen, right? So the ball would come over the net, I would just smash it right in their face, right? Like, and just dominate, right? Like, I'm playing against people, but they're all older, so the teacher's like, no, you can't try. It's hard in volleyball. Imagine telling somebody that in phys ed class you can't try because your teammate, like your classmates, are too old, basically. I was the only one that needed a note to do activities. Everybody else could write their own notes. I had to get a note from my parents. That was I would wake up, eat a couple bowls of cereal at least, go to phys ed till about 2 in the afternoon, come home, and I'd eat at least 4 eggs and 4 toasts and some cheese, and then I'd eat supper with my parents, and then I'd probably eat a couple more bowls of cereal before I went to bed. This is every day for a month. I don't know how my parents were on fixed income. I don't know how they could afford it, like, because I was eating eggs and cheese, and you know, if they had lunch meat, right, I'd throw the lunch meat on the eggs, make a ham cheese sandwich or something. Egg and ham cheese sandwich. I love Black Forest ham, or ham in general. Unless you're cooking it and you can smell the fat, and I don't like that. I worked at a pizza place, so like, you could smell the congealed fat from the ham, and it would turn my stomach. Just thinking about it in my mouth just makes me want to vomit. I rarely eat fat, but a good chef can make fat taste good. Like, I never had salt in my food. I only put butter on or margarine on or English muffins or bagels. If I make a sandwich, I never add it. Because there's all that monosaturated fats and unsaturated fats and all that stuff, right? So people could shave off quite a bit of weight just eliminating some condiments from their food, right? Because we don't get full off the condiments. It just makes it taste better, but they do add calories, quite a bit of calories sometimes. Like, if you're using anything with sour cream, the cream is very fatty, so you need lots of calories. Nice hand. Well, if you do go to the gym, really try not to count calories. It's the stress that involves counting calories, unless you're competing in a sport where you have a weight division, then you have to kind of count calories. But why stress yourself out? Be like, well, okay, well, you ate more than you typically do today. Next time you go to the gym, work out harder. It's that simple. Just make it count in the gym. Just sweat it off. And if you're very big, like if you're obese, then you don't really want to start working out like too hard, because you end up with excess skin. Because what happens is these obese people, they get really motivated to work out, and then which is great that they got motivated to work out and then to change their life, but they did, and they end up sweating off so much weight before they give their skin a chance to shrink. Whereas if you do it slowly, instead of going on the treadmill, start walking. You know, if you're a big guy, like if you're like a big guy or a girl and you're about 300 pounds, you just start walking about a half hour a day, like for a week, you're going to lose at least 5-10 pounds that first week. Just walking, just a half hour. Not sweating, but you give your skin a chance to shrink. If you don't give your skin a chance to shrink, you're going to end up with brutal stretch marks. So that being said, everybody wants to have a gym buddy. Right, but which is great, but as soon as your buddy stops going to the gym, then you stop going to the gym, right? So make sure you do it yourself, right, for yourself. It's great if you have friends there, but if they don't go, still go. Because they could have different needs than you. And really, who cares what society thinks, right? If you think you look good at a certain weight, then you're confident. That's all that matters. And that's all that matters, really. Granted, as a guy, like sometimes I don't like seeing the extra skin and folds that happen, but it's their prerogative, right? I didn't have to look. Earlier today, and I had one of those coughing that I had a peekaboo poo. Coughed, and it's like, hey, you better go soon. If not, you're gonna shit your pants. Well, poker is one of my personas, if you will. You know, I have a personality, like my poker personality. Like, you know, dealing with poker players, like they're a different type of like people, right? Like, obviously, if I was dealing with dignitaries, like I wouldn't talk about my peekaboo poo. I realized this is when I was younger, I'd sell things, and so I'd if I went into a mechanic, like a garage or something like that with a bunch of guys, I'd have a different pitch than if I went into a hair salon. And with guys, I might be a little bit I might say stuff like, hey, you want to get laid tonight? Why don't you get your wife this? Okay, so I'm really glad that I hit that flush because it looked like I was going to get knocked out pretty early. I very, very rarely read my opponent's names. I just, I just play based on their position at the table. I'm just thinking whether or not I have position over them or they have position over me. Or they early position based on the blinds. Or, that's all I play is just positional poker. I don't really think about my opponents because, like if I played online with Jed 234, right, and if I see him at the casino, I'm not going to know that that's Jed 234, right? So I don't really pay attention too much, and I still do well, right? Because I try to grow every poker session, so I try to change my behavior based on my historic behavior. When I post stuff online, right, I'm giving away tips, so I try to remember all the tips I give away. So so if somebody watched my videos, they can't use everything I'm saying against me, and without me having a strategy for it. I do play poker, right? So like playing poker, it's one of the few games where you're allowed to lie. You can't cheat because lying is part of the game, so it's not cheating. But if you lie when you bluff, when you bet, you're like, hey, I got a big hand. But meanwhile, you don't. So you bluffing or lying is rewarded in Texas Hold'em poker. Like I seen this professional, he told his opponent that he was good, that his opponent was good, and the opponent, who was Phil Hellmuth, believed him. And then Tony G was like, "Come on, Phil, this is poker. You stupid idiot." He basically wanted to say, it's like, as if you believe what your opponent said at the poker table and you trusted them enough to make a call for real money, you fucking noob. Is what he should have said. You know it's Phil Hellmuth, right? Yeah, just on YouTube, look, check out Tony G versus Phil Hellmuth. You're gonna be entertained because those two personalities clash. Tony G had Phil Hellmuth's number most of the time. He just knew how to get him under his skin because, well, Phil Hellmuth is. I would never do it intentionally if I played him. But he plays really, really good until people get under his skin. Then he makes poor decisions. He plays really good. Plays almost too tight, but he plays really good poker. I'm always impressed with how Phil Hellmuth plays. He's just a little too tight. But I think I would keep him in a heads up because he's too tight, right? So when he's aggressive or he's calling, because he's a trapper, so he's not really going to be aggressive too often against me, and so he'd be trapping. So when he's calling rather than folding, I know he likely has something. Again, as soon as a trapper starts calling, you're like, okay, they're trapping, so I'll make this a little cheap. And then you're thinking about pulling the parachute to save yourself, but they could have a draw to you, right? But he's like I said, he's really good because he plays really strict hands, right? His hand discipline is phenomenal from what I've seen online. But to survive, granted, I've never played at a casino for 8 hours, or 10 hours when you're sitting there and you're trying to make a move off somebody from 3 hours ago, and you have a high probability of going through because you have to remember from 3 hours ago, right? Like, I'm just used to making moves and people forgetting 5 minutes ago, right? So in a situation like playing with people in person, when I could use moves from the beginning of the day against them, I'm going to do very well. Because online poker, people have a very short memory. That's why you see, in any of my videos, you usually see me playing lots of hands, lots of shitty hands. It's because people have a short memory. They move on to something else, and new hand, and out of sight, out of mind, right? And most players don't try to look at their hand history to try to improve their game. Some apps have that, and it's a very fantastic way to you should at least spend several hours a week looking at your hand history, or at break time on tournaments, looking at the hand history in the tournament and see how you could have played things differently, or see how your opponents played so you could utilize it against them. Any information, right? When information is available, whoever utilizes the information the best benefits, right? Like with the Iranian leader that was just that died in with the airstrike, right? What if he received the same information to save himself as the same other team had the information to get him, and he just didn't utilize that information appropriately? Because that guy, he was a dictator basically for 35 years, right? So I'm kind of glad for the Iranian people. Hopefully they're liberated, and hopefully some Iranians that live in different countries go back to Iran and make it a more cohesive for the international community. So they're not an international pariah. They're a strong member, because Iran's always been a strong country, right, for thousands of years, right? So that area, those people are tough, right? They live in a tough land, right? So they're tough people, and so they're a force to be reckoned with. So they should be seen as such in the international community as a good, lead their their political geopolitical sphere, right? They should be one of the leaders on the planet. We take it for, sure, in Canada we have winter, which is really brutal, right? But just imagine those people that live in the desert. How hard it was to live in the desert and there before modern technology. So that toughness is in those people's DNA. It's in their DNA. They're tough. Just always thirsty. In Canada, is the complete opposite. I think we got 2 million lakes, right? So to me, we don't even have a big desert like the States does. You don't have a big desert. We must be the biggest country on the planet that doesn't have a big desert. The Russians, they must have a desert near Mongolia. That area is pretty the Gobi Desert region. I don't know if that's Russia, but that area looks like it would be pretty shitty. There's a French guy, actually in the 1800s. He was going to start terraforming the desert, but for some reason he got people stopped him from doing it. So we would have had 100 years of vegetation growth. Just like electric cars were the first cars that came out before gas power cars, but gas was just better at first. Like after a while, because I guess battery wise, gas was better. Because electric, right? You have instant power with electric cars, right? So they could go faster, quicker. They could reach their speed. Like just say both cars could go 100 kilometers an hour. The gas power car is going to take a little bit of time while the transmission shifts gears, but the electric one is just 0 to 100 super fast. The only thing is, they'd be fun to drive. Like it'd be fun to watch a race, but there's no sound. Like NASCAR, you hear the right, like that awesome sound in NASCAR when they're driving right by the wall. Just hearing the tires and the engines, and especially if like I love cars. So when you have a standard car and you're waiting right before the red line to shift, the perfect shift, and when you're listening to the RPMs, right, and then you just put it in, it's almost like your hands in the transmission, and you're shifting it. The machine just feels part of you at that point. Right? It just feels like it's like your clothing, your exoskeleton as a car. So I'm not really a fan of modern standard cars. Like I like the stick shift myself. I love feeling the gears. Like, and at first you hear you hear the gears grind, right? But after a while you get it perfect. So when you do, it's awesome. My dad actually, he could start from second gear. He could he was pretty awesome at it. He could and it's so hard to start from second gear because you don't have the RPMs that you need. But yeah, he could start from second gear. He's a really good driver. I like to drive. So when I get a car, very first snowfall, I'll go to the biggest parking lot when there's no cars, and I'll lose control and then practice regaining control in the parking lot. I'll simulate that sliding like sideways, and then I'll have to correct it just to see how that individual car responds. Like learn from me, when you rent a car, the first thing you want to do is check the wipers, figure out the wipers, because the last thing you want to do is be driving down the highway and then all of a sudden the raindrops are so big you can't see, and you didn't have enough foresight to figure out that it's a rental and you didn't know where the fucking wipers were. How to use wipers. Right, so because that could happen, like especially like if you're in Florida, all of a sudden you're by the ocean, right? So all of a sudden it's like a monsoon rain almost for like 10-20 minutes, and then it's sunny like about 2 hours later. Everything's dry. So it's like it does that every day. It just has a quick little rain, and then goes about but yeah, you don't see rain. You don't appreciate rain until you're in Florida, and then you see so he needs to hit my queen, the 10. Another guy needs to hit a 3 or a king, and he hit the queen. He only has 3 keys in the deck. Wasn't the best, so I guess I'll pause it till I'll play another tournament here. that really sucked because you know, there was only, my opponents only had 8 cards between the two of them on the turn, and let's see, there was 2, 4, 6 plus 4. There was 42 cards left in the deck, and only 8 could help my opponents, and 34 were good for me, and I still lost. That sucked. It's poker though, but it's most likely a rig when you talk about super sucks. This is a promotion they have. 5 million play chips for $149, $150. It's probably American though, mind you, but that's not a bad deal. I'm not gonna do it. They click this and they always try to make me auto buy it. That's an old credit card. It doesn't work anymore. I'm never updating it. I updated. I used Google Pass, and then my account got hacked within 2 months of using Google Pass. So never again. The bank I have, they're far and few in between, and cost me weeks of aggravation. You know, if I didn't have double authentication for them having to phone my phone, then they would have ripped me off more. Most of the time, if it's too easy, it's too good to be true, right? Yeah, most of the time, because that means, like, you know, you want the one-tap pay. Like, you just want to be able to press pay instantly, but then you're leaving yourself vulnerable to being identity stolen, perhaps, or money stolen. Okay. What's Mr. Big Shot gonna do here? Okay, they're checking. Here's an atrocious hand. I love the word atrocious. Brutal. A better way to say brutal is atrocious. Sometimes people wear clothes, and that's quite atrocious. But you know, at the poker table, right? You know, you don't need to utilize or use a big vocabulary, but when you dealing with people, right? Like people in official positions, right? Then you do want to utilize a better vocabulary to properly express yourself. Because that's what a good vocabulary does for you. It allows you to fully articulate what you're trying to say. So nothing's, you know, if you can say what you need to say, then that's another way of saying articulate. Then you're not going to be misunderstood and pissed off. And people are pretty easy to understand, right? The more they trust you, the more they're willing to give you. Whether that be time, money, or energy. Figuratively. I guess instead of energy, that'd be effort. Which is also time. Because I unofficially am most likely worth a lot more money than I officially am. So I realize this, and so I'm trying to, before I'm rich, become the person I want to be, maintaining the integrity that I have as a poor man. You know, because people want your money, right? People always want other people's money. Most people do, right? Because they want to get a job. But then there's different people like me that want to create jobs. Like I took every business course in high school, over 20 post-secondary business courses, and I would have got a degree, but I realized that I wanted to be an entrepreneur, so I didn't need the paper to say that like to get a job, right? Like I needed just the education, the information to be a good entrepreneur, right? So once I figured I had that, like surface level knowledge on a lot of things, and then enough to be able to talk with experts and have them educate me and you know that I would hire, right? Because I have a logical mind, right? So I'm really creative. So when I'm in business, very rarely am I going to be the CEO of most of my companies. It's because there's people that are better, well, maybe not better at it, better at first at it for sure, but people that are better suited at it. Like I'm going to be more like the negotiator and like the face of the company and like innovative director. Basically, I'm going to stick with my skills, right? And then areas that I'm not really trained in, I'm going to hire accordingly once I can. And I'm going to be making money off of, you know, stuff that people it's been staring people clean the streets for 100 years. They never changed it, right? So I don't have to worry about my ideas being stolen too much because it'd be very suspicious. I have videos and I'd be able to litigate it when that I conceived it first, and things are time stamped and some of these concepts are so far ahead of the curve that they want like 2060 technology. But then it's like well, to start out, right? So I had to start thinking of very basic technology, and so I thought of stuff, very basic technology to easy to prototype, basically technology, no artificial intelligence and stuff like that for the first couple businesses. I just look at things differently than other people. Like for Proline in Canada, for instance, most people would bet, say, $2 or $20 on 15 games, hoping to get 15 games right to win a whole bunch of money. Right? So I'm like, well, no, that's wrong because the odds of getting 15 games right is very slim. Some could go their entire lives with never doing it. Right? I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna bet more money, the maximum, on 3 games. That's 3 games out of 15, every week. And if you did it with $100, after 6 weeks, you would make $1 million. If you did it for the entire season and were right, you would bankrupt Proline. I did it for, I turned $5 into, I did it twice. I won 2 weeks in a row. I just tested it out with $5. And I won the 25, and then I won the 125. And then I think I tried it one other time with $100, and I might not have won, but I didn't really stick with it, right? Like, 'cause I was hoping to be able to, like, based on my novice level, I knew I wouldn't be probably good enough to get 3 games correct every week. But I was hoping to be able to be able to pay for service where they had like an 80% accuracy rate, and then I could pick the 3 top favorites that I liked out of like with an expert's opinion. Then my system would have been beautiful. And the stocks, right? Like you know, this is kind of like, this is only do this to get very little money to invest, and you have and this is for your retirement, but you're trying to have a learning curve, and you have a day job, and this isn't going to bankrupt you. You're not going to have to borrow money to do such a thing. But if you were to get, say, $4,000, and then get stocks that are, say, about $100 a share, right? You're not going to be able to get that many shares, right? You're only going to be able to get 40 shares. Right? So now just say those 40 shares go up $5, right? You only made $200. Okay, I'm gonna call this. You made $200 now. Whereas if you got $4,000 worth of stock that was worth $5 or less, then you get considerable. You get way more shares, right? So let's see. So 20 is 100 times 40. So 100. So you would get so what is it? 4,000. You would get 800 shares for $5 a share. So now, if that $5, if the shares that were $5, they went up, how much would it have to go up? Well, if it went up $2, you're going to be making, so that'd be $160. So $3 a share, then okay, this guy probably has the winner. I'm going to call it. So $3 a share. So that's kind of a bad analogy, because like usually I never did $5 a share. What I would do is I would find stocks that had good its earnings before interest, deductions, taxes, and amortization, and you look at that number, and you for the industry, and you want whatever one has the highest one for the industry. You probably want to or a good range for the industry. Like, you see what the industry average is, and then the one that appears to be the best with other metrics, and you have to have some understanding of like a balance sheet, like understand what their assets are and their liabilities and their owner's equity, see what their capital expenditures are, just to make sure that the business is invested in ways that are profitable for the business. Like, they have the right foresight, because sometimes business is just a horse, right? And the CEO is the jockey riding the horse, right? So if you have a bad jockey, then you get a bad product. They're not going to win too many races, even though it's a good product. So you'd want to look at industry news, but anyways, if you had, say, $1 a share. So if you had $4,000 and you invested in $1 a share, you could have 4,000 shares. So if it went up to $2, you would have $8,000. If it doubled, but like so, every penny that it goes up, you're gonna be 4,000 shares. So every penny it goes up, you're gonna be making $40. So all it has to do is go up 5 cents, then you made the $200, right? Whereas with the analogy where most people they would go with the big stocks that are more famous, but there are some unknown stocks that are cheaper in value where you get more bang for your buck, right? But ideally, like with stocks, you do want to diversify and have as many. You don't want to put all your eggs in one basket, as an analogy, right? So you want to diversify in different industries. Like if you found reciprocating industries, then you should do well, right? Like for instance, would be motorcycle season and then snow machine season. Those are opposite industries. So you figure a motorcycle company is probably going to do better on paper during the up until fall, and then fall time, then the stock prices might go down lower, right? So if you buy them during the off season, then you might be able to get them cheaper, and then you sell them during the peak season. And the same with snow machines, right? You try to find reciprocal industries that benefit off each other, or when one does bad, the other one does well, right? So then you're just buying and selling in between them. So as the industries flip-flop, as the years go by, you're just capitalizing, chipping up. Because, one thing you have to understand with stocks is, like, the difference between stocks and poker is poker is strictly math, right? Like, the math rules the game, right? Like, if the opponent calls you, right, like, and you have bad math, you're going to lose, right? But whereas with stocks, all these companies, they were successful enough to be traded on the stock market at one point, right? So the odds of them going bankrupt are probably slim. Granted, some do, but overall, most don't, right? Because they were able to be traded on the stock market, right? So once again, it comes back to with the horse and the jockey analogy, right? So if they do go bankrupt, it could be because they have either an old horse or a poor jockey, somebody that doesn't know how to motivate the team, maximize resources and opportunity. But definitely, like, I did that. My very first stock trade, I started out with $4,000, and if I would have listened to my instinct, this is my first trade, so I kind of second guessed myself, I would have made $4,700 in profit in one day. And I did double my money on the stock market within a few weeks. I just looked for undervalued stocks based on their yearly high, 52-week high, and that have solid accounting, and then that just seemed undervalued, and then take a chance. And I even posted this online, like proof how on August 24th, 2024, I was looking at Kodak Eastman stock, because a camera company, because I was living in Niagara Falls, and most people I seen had a cell phone, but I'm like, well, I still think you should have, if you come to Niagara Falls, you should have $1,000 camera at least, right? Like you should have a very nice camera, because just to do justice, right, the beauty of the falls, and just to do justice, you should have a camera, right? So I looked at Kodak Eastman. It was underperforming for its 52-week high. So I'm like, well, if it came down over the next few days, I'd buy it. Like in this simulation, right, like in my mind, is always like, say, $1 million. I would have bought $1 million worth. Just a simple, big number, a fictitious big number right now for me, but maybe unofficially it wouldn't be. But that being said, so sure enough, it did. And then so I checked a couple months later in June, and it went from $4 a share to $2, or pardon me, $6 a share. So it would have, it went up almost, like I would have sold it at, like, say, right before the 52-week high. Like I would have went for, like, say, 590 or 595, even though it was, say, trading at $6 a share for its 52-week high. I would have went a little bit underneath it. I wouldn't have been greedy. So I would have been one of the first ones to sell. So I would have likely been able to profit off that. Because one thing, when you do invest in stocks, you have to understand, when you go to sell a stock, you're standing in line, right? So the way to mitigate that is you, as soon as you buy a stock, you have to have a number in mind that you want to sell at, and then you could sell a certain percentage at that, like your safe number, and then maybe a certain percentage for your greedy number. Because people tend to get greedy with stocks all the time, right? Where I'm the opposite. Like I read Warren Buffett. He's a famous stock guy, right? He's the Oracle of Omaha, and I read his mentor's book, Benjamin Graham, and then I read one of Warren Buffett's investing books, How to Invest Like a Girl. So I read both of those books, and so Benjamin Graham, Warren Buffett's mentor, taught Warren to be a frugal, conservative investor. So that's what I learned. So even though, I looked at things outside the box, where I'm like, okay, because what I did was I went to the American Stock Exchange, and I looked at Walmart particularly because they're a really successful business. And then I looked at other companies, and I looked at their metrics, like from my stock app. My stock app gave me, like, say, maybe 30 stats. So I started looking at the 30 stats for Walmart, and then I found the ones that I liked, and then I punched them in the Canadian Stock Exchange, like just the numbers. It's like, I like this number, I like this number, I like this number, I like this number, I like this number. And then I basically came up with a hedge fund, like the most successful companies in Canada. Like there's about 23, 24 of them, and that were all the banks, all the railroad companies, just based on the numbers that I liked. So I'm like, okay. So I scratched my head. I'm like, well, I can't afford these stocks because it's unlikely that, like, they're great long-term stocks, granted, but it's unlikely that I can make. I want to be a day trader. I want to day trade, right? So I'm not going to be able to day trade with these too often because it requires more capital to invest. So I'm like, okay, so I'm going to punch these numbers in and find some cheap stocks under $5 or even $1. Right? If you have $4,000 and you find a solid stock, like just this beginning company that is on paper, they're just a stud, then you can make a fortune off them. Right? Every penny it goes up, you're making $40, but every penny it goes down, you're losing $40. That's the flip side of the coin. So what you could do then is, depending on the situation, like, granted, like, say 75% of your stock money, like if you want to day trade, 75% of your stock money should be for more diversified investing. And then 25% you want to kind of swing for the fences, if that's a good risk tolerance for you, because chances are they're not going to go bankrupt, but you can profit quite a bit if you get good math. Like if you're good at math and you understand, like, the Bollinger Band and the candlewick effect and some of the other graphs that they give you, and some basic accounting, and you can make some really solid decisions. And it is quintessentially buy low and sell high, right? Like, So look for undervalued companies that are famous, but when you look at their stocks, in the 52-week high or the 5-year high, they're not trading as high. So then it's like, okay, well, they're not trading as high. Well, so then you ask yourself, if you know the product, and you're like, okay, well, that's strange because I see them everywhere. They're extremely successful. Buy. But if you're like, well, that makes sense. I don't see them anywhere anymore. Then maybe you wouldn't want to buy. But basically, with my strategy, because I was like, well, I'm not gonna know all these companies, so I don't want to spend 70, 80 hours a week doing research on companies and industries that I have no clue about. I'm going to stick with my wheelhouse, my skill set, which is numbers. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to just put in the right numbers into the system that I don't even need to speak the language, and I can invest. I don't need to speak the language. I don't need to, I could, don't get me wrong, if I was investing in the foreign market, I could look at industry news, it'd be in a different language, but then I could put it in a translator app and then read the news, right, of the industry. Right, basically you want to see how like Google Finance or Yahoo Finance is a good tool to use, like, for information. You could find out industry news, and which is fantastic, right? Like there might be 10 companies in the industry, right? So you look at all the stats for those 10 companies, and you try to find a common denominator for the industry, and then anybody that's better than the average, then those are where you'd want to invest your money, most likely, unless there's one of the weaker companies on paper, unless they made an awesome capital expenditure, which is going to increase their business. Like just say they were old school dial-up connection for the internet. If you're a millennial, you probably don't even know what that is. It's when our landline phone lines had to connect to the internet. It would be like, Eesh! And that's how it connected. And when you would load a website, you might as well take a jog around the block before the website would load. So if they went fiber optic and it was a weaker company, just say they were ahead of the curve and they're like, we're going to invest in fiber optic and then we're going to go with a Cat 5 cable and become like cable internet at that point, then the weaker horse over the long run may have been the best bet. Right, so it all depends on how the company's spending their money. Right, if they're ahead of the curve, then like pretty much any car company that's heavily invested into hydrogen right now is going to be the leader in about 20 years, right? So if you're like 20 right now and you're invested in stocks, but you're 40, right? Like that's you can have a significant portfolio by then, especially if you invest a couple $100 every paycheck. Just to eat less fast food, go to the grocery store more often, invest in your stocks long term. With stocks, what you got to realize with stocks is if your stocks go down, don't panic. Don't panic. It's called a paper loss. You haven't lost money yet. You haven't lost money. As soon as you sell, you materialize that loss into an actual loss. Right? Because sometimes, what you could do is, I did a video on it, and I'm not going to bring out the calculator, so I'm not going to be quite accurate with math, but I'll just give you the gist of it. But if you have, say, 1,000 shares, like if you bought stocks and then all of a sudden it went down in price, then right, like, so you're like, oh, you're kind of panicking, right? And then, but sometimes you could buy more of that stock now. Like if it goes down in price, you could always buy more and then offset the overall cost of your initial investment. So if it costs you $1 per share, it's now at 72, like say 50 cents per share, and then you buy more stocks. now your overall portfolio might be worth 72 cents per share. So anything above 72% or 72 cents per share is profit. So if it's likely to go back up to $1 per share, then you would be making, in that sense, in that analogy, you would be making 28 cents per share. Right? Just by a stock that you bought, went down, you buy it when it's down, and then you wait for it to recover. I wouldn't continuously buy it. It all depends, right, on the industry, right? Like if it's the airline industry, right, and people are, until we're able to teleport, airplanes are pretty much here to stay, right? Like it's the best way to get around. You can't take a train across the ocean, right? Right. So certain industries like or toilet paper, right? Like until there's a better way for us to wipe our ass, and toilet paper is probably a good way to go. But a real proactive one would be hemp toilet paper, because that's the future. Because to get regular toilet paper, it takes, just say it takes 4 acres of trees. With hemp, you only need 1 acre of hemp. And hemp grows in months, trees takes years to grow, right? So the future for toilet paper is hemp. And all paper. Hemp should be for all paper. It grows so fast, it's a plant, and rather than a tree, right? So it's just better. Makes rope. So many twine. There's hemp twine. There's hemp paper. It just has a stigma because it looks like the marijuana leaf. That's all. I don't believe you could get high off it. But it's kind of just a wonder plant. I'd like to see more bamboo in Canada, really. I wonder why we're not allowed to. Maybe they're thinking it's an invasive species. But it's so... I see online how awesome it is for Asia, right? So why wouldn't we want to use bamboo in Canada? It's like one of the coolest... It's the best tree on the planet, in a way. If it's a tree or whatever it is, it's the best. It just has... There's nothing that has... Even the bamboo sections, you could turn into a... You can make it into a drinking cup. Like it's kind of sealed. Each section it grows, it has a little inside there's a circle inside, if you will, inside the sphere of the bamboo that blocks it into sections. It's like sealable tunnels, like for fire or water, right? Like right inside the bamboo, so you could cut it off, and then you could put water in there and transport water, and how fast it grows. They use it for scaffolding, and it's amazing what they do. Because, especially places like China and, Japan and Korea, they're really old countries, right? So they came up with some really clever ways. Like, I've seen them, they use ducks instead of pesticides. The ducks, it's amazing. They train the ducks, and the ducks don't fly away. They just bring them to the field. The ducks go eat all the insects and all the parasites or whatever, for all the pests for the plants, and then the ducks all follow them back to the coop, or they'll have a chicken coop above a pond, and then the poo from the chicken goes in, becomes fish food, and then they eat the fish and the chicken. And just better utilization of land, right? Because they have so many people. there, right? So in the West, we need to do that, right? Like you could grow, I think it's chili and corn at the same time. You know, if you grow corn, right, what other crop can you grow at the same time? Get double the value of your land, right? Max. 7 days. In the future, I'm going to be making money off of pollution. Oh no. No speed. It's like me. I should have won, but you never know. Sometimes you get the second full house, right? The second highest one, so that's why I trapped, right? Like with on the turn there, I was hoping for them to go all in. I won a 1,252 player tournament, and I didn't move like that on the last hand, and my opponent went all in with a mediocre hand or bluff, I forget, but they had zero chance of winning. It was fantastic. It was such an awesome way to win that tournament. It was like I did poker brain surgery on the guy. And that's the best case scenario, right? Is when your fish jumps in your boat. Yeah, sure. So I'm just gonna finish this video here and make a part 2. So just follow it up. You'll just see that it's part 1 and part 2.